Let's start here with number 7. Now, to be able to use the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation, our equation must be in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And number 7's not in that form. So the first thing we do then is get it into that standard form. So we need to add 3 to both sides. So that becomes d squared plus 6d plus 3 equals 0. Now that we have it in standard form, we can identify the a, the b, and the c. A is the coefficient of x squared, or in this case it's the coefficient of d squared. So a equals 1. B is the coefficient of x, or in this case b is the coefficient of d. So b equals 6, and then c is the constant. So for this equation, c equals 3. Now our quadratic formula says that x equals negative b plus or minus the square root minus 4ac divided by 2a. That's the formula. You're going to have it memorized. You will memorize it just by using it. Now for this problem, it's not x, it's d. So when we write down our formula to substitute our numbers in, we put d equals, all right, then here we go. We start substituting in. Negative b, so a negative sign, and then we've already decided that b is 6. So negative sign, 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared. Well, again, b is 6. 6 squared. Minus 4ac, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 3, divided by 2a. 2 times 1. We put our equation in standard form. We identified a, b, and c. We knew the formula. We substituted the numbers in for a, b, and c. Now we simplify. And this usually takes several steps. Now we simplify. So d equals negative 6 plus or minus the square root of, all right, what's 6 squared? Yeah, 36. And then what's negative 4 times 1 times 3? Negative 12. And in the denominator, 2 times 1 is 2. Keep simplifying. Negative 6 plus or minus the square root of, what's 36 minus 12? 24 divided by 2. All right. Now, I think most of you recognize that 24 is not a perfect square. 25 is, but 24 is not. So we've got 2 options at this point. We either answer as a decimal, or we try to answer in simplest radical form. Right now, we're going for decimal. Okay? So, take into account what that plus or minus sign means. It means we have 2 solutions, one using a plus sign there, one using a minus sign there. We get d equals negative 6 minus the square root of 24 over 2, or d equals negative 6 plus the square root of 24 over 2. Any questions on that? 2 solutions. One used the plus sign, one used the minus sign. All right. Make sure you know how to use your calculator. What I think will work for everybody is to do this, do -6. And on my calculator, I can't type in the minus sign 6. For us, negative signs and minus signs are the same thing. My calculator's not quite that smart. I had a separate negative sign. So -6 minus the square root of 24. And then if I go ahead and hit enter, and then divided by 2, that'll work. And then we round it to the nearest whatever. For now, nearest 10. So we'll say D equals -5 point. Now, when I have this, to round to the nearest 10th, the 10th place is that 4 right there. So I look at the digit next to it, which is also a 4. 4 and down. Well, 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 means round it down. And down means leave that digit as it is. So -5.4. And then let's figure out what our other solution is. 4D equals, so type this along with me on your calculator. You got to be able to use your calculator and get the right answer. -6 plus the square root of 24, and then divided by 2. All right, on this one, to round, this 5 is in the 10th place. We look at the digit next to it, which is a 5. 5 and bigger, round up. So if I round this 5 up, -0.6. Any questions? I want you to be able to do both. I want you to be able to give me both of those answers as well as both of those answers. Right now, we're not going to worry about putting that in simplest radical form. Okay? Everybody with me? Everywhere there's a little red check mark, I expect you to be able to get that. And we'll talk about simplest radical form as well. I just don't want that to distract us today from getting good at the equation. All right? All right. We're going to do number 8 together, but I'm going to rely on you guys to tell me what to do up here. So, number 8, h squared plus 1 equals 4h. Is this in standard form? No. What do I need to do to get it into standard form? Subtract 4h. So I get h squared minus 4h plus 1 equals 0. Now is it in standard form? Yes. Now we can identify A, B, and C. What does A equal? 1. What does B equal? -4. And so C equals 1. Now, we know the formula. If you need to write it down because you don't have it memorized yet, then write it down again. If you've got it memorized and you want to write it on your paper once and then keep looking back at it to make sure you're putting things in the correct place, that's okay. Let me warn you, I'm not sure you've got it memorized if you keep looking back at it. So you write it down until you don't need it anymore. All right. So H equals -B. Now that'll be a negative of -4, and that's okay. Plus or minus the square root of. B is -4, so -4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1. And all that's divided by 2 times 1. And I'm going to pause there for a moment. You have the same thing I have. Any questions on getting what I have? All right, then we start simplifying, and that's most of the work is the simplifying. H equals. What's a negative in front of a negative 4 mean? Positive 4 plus or minus the square root of what? 16 minus 4 divided by 2. Keep simplifying. H equals 4 plus or minus the square root of 12 divided by 2. Is 12 a perfect square? No, it's not. So, like I've said now, I'm not going to worry about simple stratical form right at the moment. So let's turn it into a decimal, but before we do that, let's spell out our two different solutions. H equals 4 minus the square root of 12 over 2, or H equals 4 plus the square root of 12 over 2. And then let's use our calculator. So 4 minus the square root of 12, then we'll divide that by 2. So that's going to be about 0.3. 4 plus the square root of 12 divided by 2. And that'll be about 3.7. Any questions?